They say that when the world was still young, when the stars themselves whispered secrets to the few who could listen, there walked a man who knew them all. His name was Hermes Trismegistus, the thrice great. Philosopher, priest, magician. A being said to have stood between heaven and earth, translating divine truth into human understanding. But who was Hermes really? A myth? A god? A sage lost to time? Or something more, a symbol of the hidden wisdom that flows through every true spiritual tradition on earth? The teachings attributed to Hermes, recorded in the ancient texts known as the Corpus Hermeticum, claim to hold the secret architecture of reality. They whisper that the entire universe is a living mind, and that human beings are not separate from it, but expressions of its infinite thought. For centuries, kings, alchemists, mystics, and secret societies have guarded his writings, using them as blueprints for inner transformation. Isaac Newton studied them. The early Christians debated them. The alchemists swore by them. And yet, most of the modern world has forgotten who Hermes was and what he truly taught. In this video, we'll uncover the real essence behind his mysterious words, the actual teaching hidden beneath centuries of symbolism and distortion. We'll explore what Hermes meant when he said, "As above, so below." We'll see how his vision of the universe as a living consciousness can change the way you see yourself and how you shape your own reality. Because if Hermes was right, then you are not merely a small being lost in a vast cosmos. You are the cosmos, learning to remember itself. This is the story of a wisdom older than civilization, and the path that leads from ignorance to illumination. Welcome to the real teaching of Hermes Trismegistus. To understand Hermes Trismegistus, we must step into a time when myth and philosophy were not separate, when science was sacred, and the pursuit of knowledge was the same as the pursuit of God. We begin in ancient Egypt, a civilization obsessed with eternity. The priests of Thoth, god of wisdom, writing, and the moon were guardians of cosmic knowledge. They believed the universe itself was written into existence through divine thought. Centuries later, in Greece, a similar idea emerged through the god Hermes, the messenger between worlds, the one who moved freely between the heavens, the earth, and the underworld. When these two figures, the Egyptian Thoth and the Greek Hermes, merged through cultural exchange in the city of Alexandria, something extraordinary was born. A bridge between myth and philosophy, between Egypt's sacred science and Greece's rational inquiry. From this union came Hermes Trismegistus, Hermes the thrice great, a symbol of total mastery over the three great domains of knowledge: alchemy, astrology, and theurgy, the art of uniting the human soul with the divine. But Hermes was never meant to be worshipped. He was a principle, a mirror of the divine mind within us all. The writings attributed to him, the Hermetic corpus, are not mere philosophy. They are manuals for awakening. They describe the creation of the cosmos as an act of pure consciousness, the descent of the divine into matter, and the soul's journey back to its source. These texts spoke of a single, universal truth that all is one, and everything that exists is connected by an invisible thread of mind. They taught that God is not distant, but immanent, hidden within every atom, every star, every thought. To the Hermetic sage, knowing this truth wasn't just intellectual, it was transformative. Because to know that the universe is mind is to realize that your own thoughts are creative forces shaping the world around you. In a time when religion was about obedience and fear, Hermes offered something radically different, a path of direct knowledge, or gnosis, an awakening to the divine nature of one's own consciousness. And this is why Hermeticism influenced nearly every mystical tradition that followed. The Gnostics borrowed from it. The early Christian mystics hid it beneath allegory. The Sufis echoed it in their poetry. The alchemists encoded it in symbols of gold and transformation. When the ancient temples of Egypt fell silent, and the Greek philosophers were silenced by empire and dogma, Hermes' voice did not disappear, it went underground. It survived through secret societies, through alchemical manuscripts, through the Renaissance magi who believed they could touch God through geometry and the stars. The Emerald Tablet, one of the most famous Hermetic texts, summarized his teaching in one simple phrase: as above, so below; as within, so without. A statement so simple, yet so profound, that it became the foundation of Western esotericism itself. It tells us that the macrocosm and the microcosm, the universe and the human being, are reflections of the same divine order. What happens in the heavens is mirrored in our minds. What unfolds in our thoughts echoes through the fabric of reality. Hermes' teaching was not a religion to be believed, but a science to be practiced, a way of aligning your inner world with the hidden laws of the cosmos. And so the question becomes, if the entire universe is a living mind, and you are a fragment of that mind, then what power lies dormant within your own consciousness? In the next section, we'll begin to decode Hermes' teaching step by step and discover how his ancient wisdom reveals the architecture of creation itself. To grasp the true teaching of Hermes Trismegistus, we must begin with one of his most radical declarations, one that overturns everything we think we know about reality. The all is mind. The universe is mental. In this single phrase, Hermes reveals the foundation of all Hermetic philosophy. He is not speaking metaphorically. He means it quite literally, that everything that exists, from galaxies to thoughts, from stars to human lives, arises within an infinite field of consciousness. Just as your dreams unfold within your mind, so too does the cosmos unfold within the mind of the all. This is not a poetic belief. It's a model of existence. In Hermetic thought, matter is not primary. Consciousness is. Everything you touch, see, and feel is a manifestation of this living mind taking form. You are not in the universe. You are the universe, condensed into a single, self-aware point. The principle of mentalism. Let's start with what Hermes called the first principle, the principle of mentalism. If the universe is mental, then everything, from the movement of planets to the flow of emotions, follows the same underlying laws that govern thought. Every creation begins as a thought. Every world begins as an idea. Think of a sculptor. Before chisel meets stone, the statue already exists in the mind. The artist simply reveals it. In the same way, the physical universe is the crystallized thought of the divine, an imagination so vast that we mistake it for external reality. Hermes taught that this truth is mirrored within us. Our personal reality, our circumstances, emotions, and experiences are the projections of our own inner states. Change the mind, and the world must follow. This is why the Hermetic path begins not with ritual or belief, but with mental mastery. The mind is both the temple and the alchemist's furnace, the place where reality is refined, purified, and transformed. The dual motion of creation. In Hermetic cosmology, the divine mind moves in two directions at once, outward and inward. Outward as the act of creation. The One, in its desire to know itself, emanates countless forms. Stars, souls, atoms, all are expressions of the same infinite consciousness, descending into density, into the illusion of separation. Inward as the act of return. Each form, through experience, learns to remember its source. The human soul, having wandered far from its origin, begins the long journey home, the anabasis, the ascent back into unity. This is the secret cycle encoded in all myths of descent and return, of death and rebirth. Hermes' teaching tells us that this cycle isn't only cosmic, it's happening within you. Every challenge, every fear, every shadow you face is the soul's descent into matter, and every awakening, every moment of clarity, is your return to light. As above, so below. Perhaps no phrase has been more quoted or misunderstood than Hermes' axiom. As above, so below. As within, so without. It is not a mere saying, it's a key to the structure of reality itself. It means that the same patterns that shape the cosmos also shape the mind. The same laws that move galaxies govern human thought. If you understand one, you can understand the other. This is why ancient Hermeticists studied both the heavens and the soul. Astrology and psychology were not separate sciences. They were two mirrors reflecting one truth. The movements of planets were not seen as causes of human behavior, but as symbols of inner forces, archetypal energies within the great mind that is both universal and personal. The 7 Hermetic Principles. Later, Hermetic texts summarized Hermes' teaching into 7 universal laws, each one a reflection of the mental fabric of existence. The principle of mentalism, all is mind. The principle of correspondence, as above, so below. The principle of vibration, nothing rests. Everything moves. The principle of polarity, everything has its opposite. Opposites are identical in nature, differing only in degree. The principle of rhythm, everything flows, rises, and falls. The principle of cause and effect, nothing happens by chance. Every action has a cause. The principle of gender, masculine and feminine, exist in all things, both in creation and within ourselves. These are not commandments. They are observations of how consciousness behaves. They reveal that the universe is not random. It is lawful, ordered, and intelligent. The divine mind and the human mind. To Hermes, the human being is a miniature universe, a microcosm reflecting the macrocosm. Your thoughts, feelings, and desires are the same forces that move suns and stars, but on a smaller scale. This means that when you think, you are not simply producing private thoughts. You are participating in the creative activity of the cosmos itself. The divine mind dreams through you. But there's a paradox here. While your mind is an expression of the all, it has also forgotten its origin. You believe you are separate, isolated, confined within a body and a name. And that forgetfulness, that illusion of separation, is what Hermetic practice seeks to dissolve. The purpose of Hermetic study, then, is not to gain power, but to remember your true identity as a living fragment of the infinite. To awaken the Nous, the divine intelligence within, and to consciously reunite it with the source. So, when Hermes says, "Know thyself," he is not giving moral advice. He is describing the most sacred operation of all, the act by which the human mind realizes it is the divine mind. In that moment, the illusion collapses. You see that creation was never out there. It has always been within you. In the previous part, we uncovered the foundation of Hermetic thought, the idea that all reality is born from mind. But Hermes did not stop there. He went deeper, revealing how this infinite mind manifests the universe through a series of subtle laws and paradoxes. To understand them is to read the blueprint of existence itself, the principle of vibration, the music of the cosmos. Hermes wrote, "Nothing rests. Everything moves. Everything vibrates." To the Hermetic initiate, this was not poetry. It was physics centuries before its time. Everything, from your thoughts to the stars, vibrates at a specific frequency. The difference between light and stone, joy and despair, God and man is only a difference in vibration. Think of it this way. Just as a string on a lyre can be tuned to create harmony or discord, so too can your consciousness be tuned to different frequencies of reality. When your thoughts vibrate with fear, you attract confusion and stagnation. When your thoughts vibrate with love and clarity, the universe responds in resonance. Hermes taught that mastery of vibration is mastery of transformation. This is what later alchemists meant when they said they could turn lead into gold. They were not always speaking of metal, but of the lead of human ignorance transformed into the gold of divine awareness. True alchemy begins not in a furnace of fire, but in the furnace of the mind. The principle of polarity, the unity of opposites next. Hermes revealed the principle of polarity. Everything is dual. Everything has poles. Everything has its pair of opposites. This is the secret of paradox, the understanding that light and dark, good and evil, birth and death, are not enemies but extremes of the same essence. Just as hot and cold are simply degrees of temperature, opposites are not contradictions. They are complementary movements within the same spectrum. The wise hermeticist does not fight polarity. He transcends it. He learns to rise above the battlefield of opposites and see their unity. When you recognize that your anger and your compassion are born from the same life force, you begin to master both. This is why Hermes said, "To change your state, change your degree. Shift the vibration, and the polarity changes with it. Fear becomes courage. Sorrow becomes wisdom. Matter becomes spirit. Every polarity contains its own seed of transformation. And the true magician, the true Hermetic initiate, learns to turn shadow into light, not by fighting it, but by understanding it. The principle of rhythm, the pulse of existence." Hermes continues, "Everything flows, out and in. Everything has its tides. All things rise and fall. This is the law of rhythm. It is the pendulum that swings through all things, the rise and fall of civilizations, the inhale and exhale of the universe, the joy and sorrow of the human heart. Rhythm is the heartbeat of the cosmos. Every emotion, every season, every experience follows this sacred motion, expansion and contraction, creation and dissolution. The Hermetic student learns not to resist this rhythm, but to ride it. When fortune fades, he does not despair, for he knows it will return. When success comes, he does not cling, for he knows the tide will ebb again. In this way, he achieves balance, serenity amidst change. He becomes the still point in the turning world. The principle of cause and effect, the chain of creation. Hermes taught that nothing happens by chance. Every cause has its effect. Every effect has its cause. Chance, he said, is merely a name for a law not yet understood. To live unconsciously is to be at the mercy of this chain, to be an effect of other people's causes. But to awaken, to act with awareness, is to rise to the level of the causative mind. This is what the ancients meant when they spoke of becoming a god. Not a ruler of others, but a conscious creator, one who acts from principle, not from reaction. Your every thought, word, and deed sets in motion invisible forces that ripple through the web of life. When aligned with truth, these ripples harmonize. When fueled by ignorance, they distort. Thus, the wise hermeticist guards his thoughts as a priest guards the flame, knowing that each spark becomes a world. The principle of gender, the dance of creation. Finally, Hermes revealed the principle of gender, one of the most misunderstood of all. Gender is in everything. Everything has its masculine and feminine principles. This law is not about physical sex, but the universal duality of activity and receptivity, giving and receiving, logic and intuition, sun and moon. Creation requires both. The masculine principle is will, the force that projects and acts. The feminine principle is imagination, the womb of manifestation that receives and nurtures the seed of thought. Together, they generate all creation, from the birth of a star to the spark of an idea. Within you, these two principles are always at work. When your mind, masculine, impresses a clear vision upon your heart, feminine, creation occurs in thought, emotion, and physical form. This is the inner alchemy of manifestation, known to Hermes and echoed by every mystic who came after him. The hidden paradox, the all and the nothing, but there is a mystery even deeper than the laws themselves. The great paradox Hermes called the all and the nothing. He taught that the all, though infinite, cannot be truly known by the finite mind. It is everything, yet, in its essence, it is nothing. Pure potential, silent awareness. It is the emptiness from which all form arises. This teaching shatters the ego's illusion. You realize that you are not merely a fragment of the all. You are also the void that gives rise to it. Your consciousness is the meeting point between the infinite and the finite, the mirror through which the all observes itself. To awaken to this is to experience what Hermes called Nous, the divine mind. It is not something you achieve. It is something you remember. The goal of Hermetic wisdom. So what, then, is the purpose of all this knowledge? Is it to escape the world? To become powerful? To transcend matter entirely? Hermes answers, none of these. The true purpose is integration, to unite the above and the below, the spirit and the flesh, the human and the divine. To become a conscious participant in creation, not its victim. In the Hermetic vision, enlightenment is not an escape from life, it is the illumination of life. The sage does not flee the world, he sanctifies it. He brings heaven into earth by awakening to the divine within himself and seeing it reflected in all things. Hermes Trismegistus was called thrice great, not because of his knowledge, but because he mastered the three great realizations. The universe is mind. The mind is creative. The divine is within. He did not give humanity a religion. He gave us a mirror and asked if we had the courage to look into it. It is said that Hermes did not speak to scholars, but to seekers. His words were never meant to be locked in books, but lived through direct experience. Because Hermetic wisdom only becomes real when it is embodied. When the great truths, all is mind, as above, so below, as within, so without. Stop being ideas and start being ways of seeing, ways of being. So let's explore how this ancient philosophy can be practiced right here in the modern world. 1. The practice of mental observation, the gate of awareness. Hermes taught that the first step on the path of mastery is to know the mind itself, not to control it, not yet, but to observe it. Sit in silence and watch your thoughts as though they were clouds drifting across the sky. Do not label them good or bad, simply see them. The act of observation alone begins to awaken the deeper awareness behind thought, the divine mind observing itself through you. This is what the Hermetic texts call the awakening of the Nous, the higher intelligence. When you notice a thought arise, remind yourself, this too is vibration. This too is part of the great mind. Soon, you realize something extraordinary. You are not your thoughts. You are the space in which they occur. And from that space, creation begins consciously. So, the principle of correspondence in daily life. The Hermetic student lives by the law of reflection. As within, so without. This means that every situation, every relationship, every event in your life is a mirror reflecting an aspect of your inner state. If someone triggers your anger, it is not simply about them. It is your own vibration being brought to the surface for transformation. If opportunities vanish, perhaps your inner beliefs about scarcity are blocking them. Hermes would tell you, change your inner pattern, and the outer world must respond. Here's a simple exercise. Before reacting to any external problem, ask yourself, what inner condition does this reflect? You'll find that outer chaos often dissolves when the inner vibration changes. That is real alchemy, turning the lead of reaction into the gold of awareness. 3. The practice of vibration, energy mastery. Since all is vibration, the Hermeticist trains to master the frequency of their inner state. Throughout the day, pause and feel your energetic tone. Are you vibrating at fear, resentment, exhaustion? Or are you attuned to clarity, gratitude, and quiet strength? When you shift your emotion, you shift your frequency, and thus, your world. You can do this through breathwork, visualization, mantra, or simply holding a high thought. For instance, visualize a radiant light expanding from your heart. Breathe slowly, imagining your entire being resonating with harmony. Speak an affirmation of truth. I am a conscious expression of the divine mind. You will notice that reality begins to mirror this new tone. Synchronicities appear. People respond differently. Your vibration silently reshapes the field around you. This is vibrational alchemy, and it's one of the oldest spiritual sciences on Earth. 4. The law of polarity, transforming opposites. When darkness enters your life, Hermes advises, seek the light within the shadow. Instead of resisting what you dislike, transmute it. Every emotion, every experience, has its opposite hidden within it. Sadness contains the seed of compassion. Anger holds the potential for courage. To apply this principle, ask yourself, what is this feeling trying to teach me? What opposite truth does it conceal? When you find that truth and shift your perspective, the polarity reverses. That is spiritual chemistry. You can practice this even in conflict. When insulted, choose patience instead of retaliation, and the entire energy of the moment transforms. You become the causal force instead of the effect. This is the art of the Hermetic magician, not to cast spells, but to change vibration through consciousness. 5. The rhythm of the soul, aligning with cycles. The wise Hermeticist studies the tides of existence, waking and sleeping, expansion and retreat, joy and stillness. Everything in nature breathes, including you. When you're in a low cycle, don't fight it. Rest, reflect, rebuild. When energy rises, act boldly and create. Harmony is not about forcing constant positivity. It's about moving with the rhythm. The moon waxes and wanes, the sun rises and sets, and so does your inner light. By honoring these cycles, you stop living in resistance. And resistance is the root of suffering. The more you flow with the cosmic rhythm, the more life supports you. 6. Becoming a conscious cause. Hermes said, "The unwise are moved like pawns upon the board. The wise move the pieces themselves." To live consciously means to stop waiting for life to happen to you and begin shaping it through awareness. Before each action, ask yourself, am I reacting or am I creating? If you are reacting, pause. Center yourself. Act only when you are aligned with clarity and intention. This transforms you from being an effect of the world into a cause within it. Over time, your life stops feeling random. It becomes meaningful, directed, purposeful. That is Hermetic power, not domination, but participation in the creative process of the all. 7. The inner marriage, balancing masculine and feminine. Hermes spoke of the marriage of opposites, the sacred union between the inner masculine and feminine principles. Practically, this means integrating both reason and intuition, will and receptivity. The masculine within you acts, the feminine within you feels. When these two dance in harmony, creation flows effortlessly. For example, the masculine sets a clear intention. I will write a book. The feminine receives inspiration, emotion, and imagery. Together, they birth something new. To neglect either is to live half alive. Balance them, and you become whole, the true androgynous being Hermes described, embodying both sun and moon. 8. The contemplation of the all finally. Hermes directs us toward the ultimate practice, contemplation of the all. Each day, take a few minutes to remember. Everything you see, the trees, the sky, the people, the problems, is the divine mind expressing itself in form. The same consciousness that breathes through stars breathes through you. As you contemplate this, something extraordinary happens. The barrier between self and world begins to dissolve. The sacred becomes ordinary, and the ordinary becomes sacred. You realize that you are not a separate being seeking God. You are God, experiencing separation in order to know unity again. This realization, quiet, humble, vast, is the Hermetic awakening. Challenges on the path, of course. Living this way is not easy. The world will test your awareness. Old habits, fears, and emotions will pull you back into forgetfulness. But Hermes taught that every fall is part of the rhythm. When you stumble, smile. You are simply learning the art of remembering. The secret is persistence. Return again and again to awareness. Over time, the gap between forgetfulness and remembrance shrinks until one day there is no gap at all. Then, your entire life becomes a prayer, not of words, but of vibration. To live the teaching of Hermes is to live awake, to walk through the world as a conscious extension of the infinite, to see divinity not in temples, but in every face, every breath, every thought. And that, Hermes would say, is the greatest magic of all. Hermes Trismegistus never asked humanity to believe. He asked us to know. Not to worship an external deity, but to discover the divine within our own consciousness. His wisdom was not a promise of paradise beyond the stars, but a revelation that the kingdom of He, hidden in plain sight, waiting to be seen with awakened eyes. For those who seek understanding, Hermes offered a single path: Gnosis, direct knowing, the moment when knowledge becomes experience, when truth ceases to be an idea and becomes a state of being. He whispered across millennia, "The all is mind. The universe is mental. As above, so below. As within, so without." These are not just phrases, they are keys. Keys that open the inner gates of perception. Keys that remind us that our thoughts are the brush strokes painting the canvas of existence, the mirror of the cosmos. Imagine standing before a still lake at dawn. The water reflects the sky perfectly, the sun above mirrored in the surface below. Now imagine that the lake is your consciousness. When it is calm, the divine mind reflects through you without distortion. But when it is turbulent with fear, anger, or confusion, the reflection warps and the world appears chaotic. The Hermetic path is the art of stilling the waters, not to escape the world, but to see it clearly, to realize that heaven and earth, mind and matter, spirit and form are not two, but one. When you remember this, even the simplest act, a breath, a glance, a heartbeat, becomes sacred. Because everything is the all, and the all is everything. The return to the source. All Hermetic teachings lead to one great realization: you were never separate. The journey, the seeking, the longing were all movements of the one consciousness playing hide and seek with itself. When the mind becomes still enough, you will hear it, the silent whisper beneath all thought. I am. That is the voice of Hermes, the same voice that spoke to the ancient scribes in Egypt, the same truth that flickered through Greek philosophy, alchemy, Kabbalah, and mysticism. It has always been speaking, not from books or temples, but from the depths of your own soul. Living the teaching, so how do we honor Hermes today in a world of noise, distraction, and division? Not by escaping it, but by illumining it. When you walk into a room with presence and clarity, you embody Hermetic wisdom. When you respond with understanding instead of judgment, you mirror the cosmic balance. When you create through art, kindness, or thought, you continue the act of divine creation itself. To live as Hermes taught is not to become supernatural, but profoundly natural. To live as a conscious fragment of the infinite, awake to the divine rhythm pulsing through all things. The final reflection. In the Corpus Hermeticum, Hermes says to his disciple taught, "If you do not make yourself equal to God, you cannot understand God, for like is understood by like. Grow to the immeasurable, to the infinite. Rise above all time. Become eternity. Then you will understand the all. This is not arrogance. It is remembrance. To make yourself equal to God means to awaken to what you have always been, a ray of the infinite light, temporarily dreaming itself as a human being. When you awaken from that dream, you do not abandon the world, you love it more deeply, because you see yourself in all things. Soft crescendo, music swells with subtle warmth, like sunrise over an ancient city. So as you go about your life, remember this. Every thought you hold is a vibration echoing through the cosmos. Every word you speak is a spell shaping your reality. Every act of awareness is the universe awakening to itself through you. This, Hermes would say, is the real great work. The transformation of ignorance into wisdom, of matter into spirit, of human into divine. The gods did not hide truth from humanity. They hid it within us, in the silent, eternal presence behind the noise of the mind. And the key to that treasure has been with us all along. It is carved into the emerald tablet and written upon the heart of every soul. As above, so below. As within, so without. As the universe, so the soul. This is the real teaching of Hermes Trismegistus. And the rest is up to you.